Soviet President Brezhnev tells visiting U.S. senators Russia tested a neutron bomb but decided not to produce it. U.S. spy planes search for Russian MiGs in Cuba.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Frank Reynolds in Washington, Max Robinson in Chicago, Barbara Walters, special reports, and from our desk in London, Peter Jennings.
Good evening. Overseas and at home these past few days, we've been hearing more than the usual concern expressed about nuclear weapons. There have been some sharp exchanges this week between the United States and the Soviet Union about each other's nuclear capabilities, though largely that of the Soviets. Much of the discussion, whether about MiG-23s in Cuba with a nuclear capacity, or, as it emerged today, whether the Soviet Union has tested a neutron bomb, has taken place in the Soviet capital itself. It is perhaps ironic that the concern has been expressed as Soviet leader Brezhnev told American senators today that a strategic nuclear weapons agreement was 95% complete. As Charles Bierbauer reports tonight, though, those senators have been at the center of the nuclear discussion.
The senators' Kremlin clashes started with Soviet Premier Kosygin. When Connecticut Senator Abraham Rybakov questioned the Soviet premier about MiG-23s in Cuba, Kosygin sharply denied that the Soviets have violated the 1962 agreement to keep nuclear weapons out of Cuba. The Brezhnev meeting, once canceled, appeared to be put back in the program solely to give the senators a 50-minute lecture without rebuttal. Brezhnev said he agreed with President Carter that U.S.-Soviet tensions have relaxed, but he said he would not meet Carter until there is a SALT agreement. Then, almost as an afterthought, Brezhnev, according to the notes of Missouri Senator Thomas Eagleton, said the Soviets had tested a neutron bomb, but gave up and never started production. Brezhnev did not define the testing, but it was a revelation from the most outspoken critic of U.S. plans to build neutron weapon components. The senators told their Supreme Soviet counterparts that if SALT and other issues are not linked, they are certainly intertwined. For the Americans, a violation of the Cuban agreement would cast doubts on the Soviet willingness under SALT to keep the backfire bomber out of range of the U.S. The Soviets have said U.S. neutron weapon production would alter their view of a SALT agreement. Charles Bierbauer, ABC News, Moscow.
This is Bill Werdum. The reaction here at the Pentagon to the Soviet claim to have tested a neutron bomb is a big collective shrug of the shoulders. A source here says that we would like to see all Soviet nuclear weapons fitted with neutron warheads because that would mean they would do less damage. The neutron bomb is little more than a small hydrogen weapon. Large conventional nuclear weapons do enormous damage because of the size of the blast and the heat generated. A neutron bomb throws out as much, if not more, radiation, but the size of the blast, and therefore the damage, is much smaller. The essential feature of the neutron weapon is that it kills people without doing much damage. Because of this, the bomb is referred to as a defensive weapon. Its chief purpose, if used by the United States, would be to break up massive attacks in Europe by tanks which the communists possess in overwhelming numbers. The enhanced radiation of the neutron weapon is especially effective at penetrating armor and killing the crews of tanks. In April, President Carter offered to cancel work on the neutron bomb if the Russians cut back on the size of their tank forces and stopped deploying their new SS-20 mobile nuclear missile. When the Russians did not respond, the president in October ordered production of parts of the neutron bomb. If full production were ordered, the warheads would then be fitted to the Army's Lance missiles and 8-inch artillery shells. It is not known whether the Russians have advanced this far with their neutron bomb development, but to repeat the view here, it really doesn't matter. Bill Werdum, ABC News, The Pentagon.
There is yet another bizarre development in Soviet-American relations tonight. It became known today that American spy planes are now flying over Cuba to learn more about the Soviet MiG-23s recently shipped there. Sam Donaldson has the story.
All the White House would say today is that there are MiG-23s in Cuba and the situation is being closely monitored. Spokesman Rex Granum wouldn't say how. But other administration officials privately acknowledge that U.S. reconnaissance flights over Cuba have been resumed. Their target, 12 MiG-23s, shipped in since early last summer. The MiG-23 is a swing-wing high-speed tactical warplane. Modified one way, it is employed as a defensive interceptor. But modified another way, it can carry nuclear bombs and fly a one-way mission of some 1,250 miles. The difference in potential use can be determined by taking a close look. This is the U.S. reconnaissance plane now taking that close look over Cuba. the SR-71 nicknamed the Blackbird. It flies so high and so fast that the Pentagon does not believe it can be shot down, as was one of the old U-2s that overflew Cuba in 1962 looking for Soviet nuclear missiles. When the Cuban Missile Crisis was over, President Kennedy promised that the United States would not attempt to invade Cuba. And Premier Khrushchev promised that the Soviet Union would never again attempt to station offensive weapons on the island. Late today, Soviet Ambassador Dobrynin personally assured Secretary of State Vance that the MiGs are not nuclear-equipped offensive warplanes, and U.S. officials are inclined to believe him. But until the independent U.S. intelligence survey is complete, they're not going to say that. Until U.S. officials are absolutely certain, the question remains open, and so do the possibilities. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, the White House.
To keep this latest Soviet-American flap in perspective, it might be useful to remember that the Kremlin leadership, and particularly Leonid Brezhnev himself, has made a tremendous political investment in détente. For him to do anything now that would seriously jeopardize a new SALT agreement would be to admit that his own policy has been terribly wrong. Brezhnev is known to be immensely proud of the existing SALT agreement and considers the one now being negotiated the ultimate achievement of his career. He operates in a closed society, but within the Kremlin there are hawks and doves, just as there are here. And he can no more appear to be soft on the Americans than Jimmy Carter can accept the charge that he is soft on the Russians. That may help explain the sometimes bewildering behavior of both.
World News Tonight, brought to you by Sanka Brand Decaffeinated Coffee, the coffee that lets you be your best.
I'm not going, and that's final.
You're overreacting, Phil. What's the matter?
Well, his doctor told him caffeine bothers him.
You should drink Sanka Brand Decaffeinated Coffee.
But I only like real coffee.
Phil, Sanka Brand is 100% real coffee. Try it.
This is real coffee.
My goodness, look at the lovebirds.
That's what happens when you fall in love with Sanka Brand.
Sanka Brand, the coffee that lets you be your best.
Mother used to say, Phyllis Ann, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I'm Phyllis George, and thanks to my Oster egg cooker, I can make perfect hard or soft cooked eggs or poached eggs for breakfast in minutes. I just put in the eggs, and Precise Heat Control does the rest automatically. When the light goes off, your eggs are done. The Oster egg cooker for breakfast, lunch, dinner, salads, and that's exactly right. The Oster egg cooker. Are you listening, Mom?
A former CIA employee who maintained that he was trying to become a double agent has been convicted of spying for the Soviet Union. A federal jury in Hammond, Indiana, returned that verdict this afternoon after a day and a half of deliberations. Matt Quinn has more on that story.
For 23-year-old William Campillis, leaving the courthouse, conviction on 6 charges of stealing and selling defense secrets could result in a life sentence. The government had relied heavily on Campillis' confession that he had stolen and then sold to the Russians a copy of the top-secret technical manual for the KH-11, America's newest spy satellite. Campillis, a former CIA employee, recanted that confession, claiming it had been obtained through pressure. The Campillis defense tried to make the CIA a defendant, at one point introducing a document, a CIA security memo. It revealed that the intelligence agency is unable to find 13 other copies of that very same satellite manual. The attempt to put the CIA on trial was an important part of the defense, and that tactic has embarrassed the CIA, revealing widespread breaches of security and the loss of top-secret documents. What ended today in Hammond could echo for some time to come inside the CIA. Matt Quinn, ABC News, Hammond, Indiana.
Because of growing worries that Johnny can't read or write or sometimes even spell his own name, 40 states have developed competency tests for grammar and high school students. But an education conference today in Washington heard warnings about such tests. Education specialist Philip Rever says there's a danger that test scores can take the place of teacher and grade evaluation. Other critics charge that competency tests are biased in favor of white middle-class Americans. Is a prisoner who volunteers as a human guinea pig in medical tests actually volunteering? Well, the government says in many cases no, and it's put strict limits on paying for the research involving inmates in state and local prisons. HEW Secretary Joseph Califano says the new rules will encourage only that research, which is intended to improve the health of the inmates. If you thought the relatively warm weather this fall might save some money in heating bills, think again. The oil companies maintain that, among other things, increased automobile driving during the pleasant weather has diverted petroleum refining from heating oil to gasoline. So with heating oil in short supply now, the oil companies have released or raised heating oil prices an average of 1 to 4 cents a gallon across the country.
I thought the soup was delicious.
And you just now found out it was an instant soup called Soup Time. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did that bother you?
Yes, it did.
Oh, why?
Because I thought that anything that delicious had to be done from scratch.
So, you say you like this Soup Time instant soup.
I like this soup, but I don't like instant soup.
But I just told you that this was an instant soup.
You told me, but that's the only reason that I think so.
Nestle Soup Time, the great tasting instant soups with home-style stock.
I may go try it now.
Each year, gas fires and gas explosions have caused millions of dollars in property damage and untold loss of life because there was no warning. Now you can be warned of dangerous leaking gas with the new First Alert gas detector. If you use natural or propane gas in your home, First Alert can warn you long before gas reaches the danger level. The new First Alert gas detector. This sound could save your life.
Back when golf was mostly for the well-to-do, a drive to the links was probably on a prestige tire of the time, Generals. Today, General Tire quality comes in a range of tire designs and prices for everyone. There's our sporty Sprint Steel radial, our low, wide-belted grabber, and our top-of-the-line Dual Steel 2 radial. Quality, choice, price. General has a tire for you.
Sooner or later, you'll own Generals.
The problem? Credit verification in a hurry.
Can you hurry it up, please? My plane leaves in 2 minutes.
I'm doing the best I can, sir.
The Bell System solution. A system that verifies credit in seconds.
My plane leaves in 4 minutes. Can I make it?
No problem.
Now ready for departure. Flight 323, now 40.
That's it?
That's it. There you go.
Thanks.
Another case that shows the system is the solution.
While economists debate whether the government's anti-inflation program will cause a recession in the future, right now consumers are enjoying the benefits of economic growth. Personal income rose 1.2% last month, the largest gain since midsummer. And new construction of homes and apartments remained above the 2 million unit level for the 8th straight month. But building permits, which forecasts future housing trends, fell off almost 3%, a sign that construction of new houses will begin to slow down next year. The economics of political campaigns has come under new review this week. A Ralph Nader study group says in 85% of the cases, the candidates who won last week were the candidates who spent the most. Nader says that reinforces his golden rule of politics: he who spends the gold rules. Well, a lot of that money came from what's known as political action committees. Catherine Mackin has more.
The Federal Election Commission computer prints out contributions from AMPAC, the American Medical Association Political Action Committee, one of 1,828 political action committees, PACs for short, that are now inundating candidates for Congress with their money. The nation's doctors are the biggest PAC contributors. They gave to 417 candidates, sometimes to both Democrats and Republicans in the same race, but not to all of them in equal amounts. In West Virginia, conservative Republican Arch Moore got $5,000 from the doctors. Liberal Democratic Senator Jennings Randolph, who leans toward national health insurance, got $50. Randolph won. The doctors did better in Maine. There, William Cohen, who opposes national health insurance, got $5,000. Senator William Hathaway, who favors it, got $100. Hathaway was defeated. The PACs say they are just exercising their legal right to participate in politics. Their critics say they run a system that rewards their friends and punishes their enemies.
The Congress of the United States is being played like the stock market of the United States, with people and interest groups using money to invest in elected officials. And if they don't like what they get, they move on to invest in other elected officials.
Whatever the special interest groups are doing, it's happening in record numbers. By September 30th of this year, they had raised more than $67 million for politics. The final figure could reach $75 million or more. Nevertheless, the current system has staunch supporters.
If you recognize that you have to have money to support a Congress, to support the election process, I think the procedures through which we've been going has tended, as I said a moment ago, to produce a better Congress. So if that means that it's the best Congress money can buy, so be it.
One way to control special interest money in politics is public financing. It worked in the last presidential campaign, but Congress has repeatedly refused to pass a public financing law for itself. There will be another effort to get it in the next Congress, but no one is taking bets on whether it will be approved. Catherine Mackin, ABC News, the Capitol.
All this week, we have been running a series of close-up reports on the scandal in the General Services Administration, the government's housekeeping agency. Well, tonight, Bettina Gregory has a report on how difficult it has been to clean up the corruption. How hard, really, for a new broom to sweep clean.
This is a word processing machine. A secretary types a letter into it, and voila, it reproduces itself automatically at high speed. The GSA decided it needed these machines. A GSA official went to look at various models and decided the best ones for GSA were made by this company, Four Phase Systems. A contract was awarded in August for $200,000 worth of equipment for GSA headquarters here in Washington. Four Phase said it was a dream come true. This telex from a company official says the GSA promised to buy not just one system, but 10 for GSA offices around the country. Sales worth millions to Four Phase. Their competitors, Wang Laboratories of Lowell, Massachusetts, heard about that contract and protested, saying it was a flagrant violation of federal procurement regulations because the GSA didn't take written bids before awarding the contract.
Our attorneys and our people who investigated said, hey, this is not according to the regulations. We better do something about it to try to stop it. And we did.
After Wang filed the protest, the GSA canceled the contract in September. Four Phase officials spoke with us, but they refused to be interviewed on camera. But Four Phase filed its own sharply worded protest demanding $27,000 in damages for the equipment the GSA ordered but canceled. Four Phase says it isn't fair to cancel the order because it was the GSA that initiated the deal and ramrodded the contract through. Robert Jones, a man brought in by GSA Administrator Jay Solomon, is the one who recommended the deal. We asked him what happened.
If anybody in this whole Four-Phase Wang exercise made an error, it was either me or the contracting officer, and I may well have. If I did, it was an innocent error.
This apparent violation of the GSA's own rules of fair competitive bidding might never have come to light if the competitor, Wang, didn't protest. This example shows, even with the GSA struggling to put its house in order, there's still room for improvement.
In this day and time, with GSA being under pressure and under the heat that it's under, these kinds of mistakes get you on national news, whether you like it or not.
Bettina Gregory, ABC News, Washington.
In the next few weeks, Bettina Gregory will continue her investigation into the GSA scandal.
I'd like to show you how science helped create a new Mercury Marquis standard of driving comfort for $79 in the new Colony Park wagon. Computer-assisted technology adds 4 cubic feet more passenger room than last year. A tighter turning diameter gives new maneuverability. Even Marquis' ride has been re-engineered. Corners flatter, takes dips and bumps with greater stability. Mercury's 3-way door gate. It's convenient. It's the best-looking Marquis wagon yet.
Are you an overdoer? Someone who occasionally gets an overdoer's backache?
If I don't do it, who will?
Then you should know about New Doan's pills. New Doan's is stronger and starts to work faster than ever before, with a medically proven ingredient that relieves backache pain for hours.
Be careful, honey.
Ooh. So if you occasionally get an overdoer's backache, remember New Doan's. It takes the ache out of backache.
They call it inflation.
We call it crazy prices.
What it comes down to is we've had to cut back in certain ways. But steak is still our favorite meal. Only now we want to make every bite count. That's why we use A1 steak sauce. A1's not expensive. But it makes any steak taste expensive, even ground steak. Like I said, steak is our favorite meal, and A1 makes every bite count.
Zenith announces a breakthrough. System 3.
System 3.
The best Zenith ever.
The best ever.
A brand new picture tube for the sharpest Zenith picture ever.
Sharpest picture.
And an all-new modular chassis.
All new.
Designed to be the best performing, the most reliable color TV in Zenith history.
The most reliable.
Zenith. System 3.
Zenith. System 3.
It's the best Zenith ever.
The House Assassinations Committee, which is still investigating the killing of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., today began looking into the way the FBI investigated Dr. King's death. The chief witness today was a former FBI official named Arthur Murtaugh. He told the committee that the FBI was so pervaded with racism that a thorough investigation of Dr. King's death was impossible. Murtaugh said, and I quote, "It just defies reason to say that the same people who were engaged in a 10-year vendetta against Dr. King should investigate his murder." Earlier today, United Nations Ambassador Andrew Young was called to testify in order to rebut challenges by James Earl Ray's lawyer, who has claimed there is evidence the FBI was actually involved in a conspiracy to kill Dr. King. Ambassador Young said he knew of no such evidence. Secretary of State Vance said today the latest Egyptian proposals for breaking the apparent stalemate with Israel are constructive. This amounts to an American endorsement of the Egyptian plan, which the Israeli cabinet will consider on Sunday. Peter?
Elsewhere overseas today, the United States offered to increase its quota of Vietnamese refugees from Malaysia if Malaysia lets those stranded 2,500 boat people come ashore. The U.S. offer means Malaysia wouldn't have to shelter any more refugees than it does now. The Sri Lanka government today said airport landing approach lights were out when a chartered jetliner carrying Indonesian Muslims crashed on Wednesday night. It also said controllers warned the Icelandic pilot he was coming in dangerously low. The official death toll is now 183. 79 people survived. Finally, from overseas today, the Hungarian communist leader János Kadar has ended a 3-day state visit to France. In a final communique, he pledged to carry out all the provisions of the Helsinki Agreement on political freedom for Hungarian citizens. Well, we have an unusual report from Hungary tonight, a country already undergoing quiet but significant change. Change, as we think you'll agree, which was particularly significant to ABC's Kati Martin.
Budapest, October 23, 1956. Thousands of Hungarians, angry after a decade of Stalinist repression, march against their government, Moscow's puppet. Anger turns to violent rage, finally and hopelessly put out by Soviet tanks. Nearly 13,000 Hungarians are killed in futile fighting against Soviet troops. 200,000 others flee to the west. The Martins, my family, are among them. Budapest, 1978, a city of seemingly contented people and well-stocked shops. But Hungary, 22 years later, is still firmly planted in the Soviet camp. These Hungarian soldiers are commemorating the anniversary of the Russian Revolution. A few feet away, 600 Hungarians were gunned down by Soviet troops in '56. There are no reminders of that event. Not far away, I returned to find my old neighborhood and house unchanged.
It was on this street corner, early in 1955, that on a cold January night, my father was surrounded by a secret policeman. I was not to see him again for nearly 2 years after that.
My mother was arrested a few months later. As correspondents working for American publications, both were convicted as spies for the United States. They were both freed and the family reunited before the revolution. For my closest childhood friend, Peter Kokash, life today reflects the changes in Hungary itself. Though his father was deported from Budapest for his role in the revolution, and his brother defected to the West, Peter is a successful doctor who can afford Western clothes and was even allowed to represent Hungary at the Munich Olympics. 1956 is a year that he'd rather not talk about. Like most Hungarians, Kokács credits János Kádár with the liberalization of Hungary. Kádár had said during the revolution that he'd fight Russian tanks with his bare hands. Instead, to the shock of Hungarians, it was he who called on Soviet troops to put down the revolution. But he spent 22 years trying to wipe out his countrymen's memory of that. That look of fear that characterized so many Hungarian faces of my childhood is gone. One reason for that may be that I didn't see a single Russian soldier on the streets of Budapest, though everyone knows there are 80,000 still in the country, but out of sight. In official Hungarian history, 1956 is a one-paragraph, unfortunate incident. To most Hungarians, 1956 is when one period ended and another began.
What is striking for someone returning for the first time since '56 is the extent to which the people and the government here have come to terms with each other. The people know what they can expect, and the government has learned how far it can push before something snaps. Those are the hard lessons of 1956. I'm Kati Martin, ABC News, Budapest.
I have a job now. So my husband said, we need some help with the housework. But every time we tried to hire someone, they'd say, I don't do windows. Well, Glass Plus does windows without streaking. And it cleans appliances, cabinets, countertops. And just look how it cleans chrome. Who says you can't find good help anymore? Glass Plus, the glass appliance and cabinet cleaner all in one. It does windows, plus a whole lot more.
At West Bend, you told us you wanted a space-saving drip coffee maker at an attractive price. The newest West Bend Quick Drip 10 or 12 cup model saves you money from the start with this permanent polyester filter. You set a single control, you got it. Brews great coffee fast. The Quick Drip you helped design from West Bend, where craftsmen still care. At West Bend, we recommend ABC brand coffee, only from Maxwell House.
Finally, there was a distinguished visitor at the White House today. Nothing unusual about that, but this fellow received a rather special welcome. And why not? He is the most famous mouse in the history of mousekind, and he is now 50 years old. So he pranced through the East Room today, and to coin a phrase, delighted young and old. There was even a stirring rendition of the old Mouseketeer Club song. And look who joined in. J-I-M-M-Y-C-A-R-T-E-R. And that's our report on World News Tonight. For ABC News, good night.
From ABC, this has been World News Tonight. The guest on ABC's Issues and Answers program on Sunday will be UN Secretary General Kurt Waldheim. Secretary Waldheim will be interviewed by ABC News correspondents Bob Clark and Lou Chiaffi. Check your local listings for the time of the broadcast. Watch a special Thanksgiving sailing of the Love Boat with guest stars June Allison, Peter Graves, Van Johnson, and Roz Kelly, followed by the continuation of Pearl. Watch tonight starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on ABC.
At 6 o'clock tonight, you'll